Hello everyone, welcome to Product School. Today for a panel discussion about product leadership, inspiring teams to success. My name is Francois, I'm Product Marketing Manager here at Meta, and I am very lucky to have today a panel of senior product leaders that are here to share all their experience and knowledge with you about product leadership. To start, maybe I will just ask our guests today if they can quickly introduce themselves on in one line what they are doing in their company. Maybe starting with you, Ilia.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for inviting me. Honored to be here. My name is Ilia. I'm working at Delivery Hero. We are one of the largest food delivery platforms combining multiple consumer brands across the world. And I am group product manager looking for onboarding, incubation, and offboarding of restaurants to our platforms. Working with 4 product teams under this product area.
Thank you, Ilia. We also have another representative from the delivery industry with Sarah. Maybe if you can introduce yourself quickly.
Yes. Hello, everyone. I'm Sarah. I am currently a staff product manager at Deliveroo, which is a food delivery company based in the United Kingdom. I'm currently leading a team of 2 product managers focused on acquiring and retaining really valuable customers as part of our loyalty subscription program.
Thank you, Sarah. We also have Ori, who is working at Google. Ori, if you can just introduce yourself to the audience.
Of course. Thanks so much for facilitating, Francois. So my name is Ori Kashi. I'm a group product manager here at Google, based out of Seattle. Currently, I am working in Core, which for a core developer for product management is overseeing much of the developer tooling within Google kind of across the business. So both cloud as well as, the rest of Alphabet, including YouTube, search, and so on and so forth.
Thank you, Ori. And lastly, we have Bala from Meta, like me.
Hi, everyone. My name is Bala. I'm a product lead at Meta. I work on ensuring privacy and enabling access for the 4 billion plus people who use Meta's apps and products, including Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, and the offerings in the Reality Labs side. I previously worked at Amazon within Alexa and Amazon Payments. And before that, I was at Morgan Stanley Wealth Management. So I've been in a few different places.
Thank you, Bala. Of course, our guests here are representing their own view, not their company's view. One thing also is that if you have questions, feel free to ask them into the comment. We try to answer them at the end of the panel. Jumping into the conversation, I think one of the first things that is important for our audience is when you're a product leader, what are the skills that are required, and maybe how you can grow them. Maybe starting with you, Ilia, in your opinion, what are the key skills that helps you leading the team at Delivery?
Of course, there is a list of different things that are important. What I think one of the leading things, at least from my perspective, is the following. There's a million ways to describe what product managers do. And one of those concepts is being like a bridge between something and something, like between business, between customers and the team. And at every additional level within a large organization, this, let's say, abstraction level of where you need to build this bridge between the company's objectives or higher level domains objectives and the actual team's tasks, that's something really important. And to succeed in that, you need to have this ability to zoom in and zoom out when it's needed, to keep this balance between, again, what the company is trying to achieve and how the teams are actually contributing to that. So I would mark this ability to zoom in and zoom out when it's needed.
Indeed, I think this ability to be the connection and to translate topics between teams is something that is very relevant, on not only when you have direct report in a team, but also when you have people that are not your report, but you need to engage around the topic. Maybe, I don't know, for instance, Bala, do you have some example or in your experience, something that you've been observing when you have been engaging with teams that are not necessarily directly your reports?
Yeah, for sure. I think at Meta, a lot of the initiatives that I've been working on are very cross-company. So they, like I mentioned, they touch almost all of the family of apps and the Reality Labs products. So in these scenarios, I think I agree with Ilia, the ability to zoom in and zoom out is super important to stay in touch with the details, but also to have the big picture in mind. In that same vein, I think the example that comes to mind, and this is also a core skill, I think, for being a product leader, is being able to very clearly articulate the vision and the mission for what you're doing and why you're doing it, and being able to repeat that ad nauseum till everyone gets it across different orgs and different parts of the company that you're partnering with. And really being able to rally people behind that is, I think, a core skill, because things are, when we were launching end-to-end encryption or working on launching end-to-end encryption at Meta, I think it's a very technically complex project with both infra and user experience changes and fundamentally pivoting how people think about the product. So with this extreme amount of complexity baked in, and the fact that you have to sell this vision to org leaders across the company, I found that having that good sense of product and being able to rally people behind and grounding yourself and the teams you're working with behind why are we doing this is so critical when it comes time for major pivots or major conflicts or major crises that are bound to come along the way. So I just think that this is one of the core skills that helps a leader shine, even in times of adversity and change and so on.
Thank you, Bala. Indeed, I think being able to inspire and engage teams is a key skills to success as a product leader. And actually, if I move a little bit towards the skills that you need to grow, but you also have a team and you want your team to grow the skills of your team in a way, because the more they grow and the better you will be able, you'll be positioned for success. And maybe a question that I have is, how do you support your team so that they can grow their own skills and they can be better equipped to succeed in the company? Or maybe, Ori, in your experience at Google, you have some example or insight to share on this topic? Yeah,
absolutely. Kind of that notion of constant growth is critical, both ensuring that the team is inspired and has the morale and the drive to keep going, as well as that you can kind of get the most out of everyone in your organization, that they're bringing their best selves to work. And so I think that first starts with making space for growth, ensuring that folks are not so compressed at every given moment that it's just a flurry of tactical work, but actually encouraging them to seek opportunities and guiding them towards opportunities that are going to bring them into kind of new dimensions and new modalities of skills that maybe they're less familiar with, or pairing them up with others, whereby they will learn some. I will say recently, what I've been trying to do is ensuring that the PMs in my organization are overlapping to a certain degree. And I've seen this in other organizations where we try to draw very defining lines in terms of ownership and scope, and kind of, okay, you sit here and you sit here, and no one's going to run into anyone else. But I do think it's counterproductive to a certain degree, especially when you're thinking about growth, where you're, rather than making PM a lonely profession, if you're able to kind of match up PMs with a little bit of overlap so that they do kind of have that nudge to engage with each other and learn from each other's habits and experience, you're going to get better outcomes. They're going to inspire each other, and they're going to kind of spark new interest in each other and want to pursue kind of those new skills.
Totally. It does resonate with me. On Sarah, I see you also nodding, so I imagine it's also something that resonates with you. Will you have like some perspective on your side, how you've been empowering your team so that they feel they have everything they need to grow and to shine as product manager?
Yeah, I just like to second what Ori said. Really, really resonates. And I think one of the hardest parts is figuring out like what actually is the area that I want to grow? I think that's like often where people really struggle. And so there's just a lot of like good workshops where, and I know I did this when I used to work at Meta, where they do strengths quizzes, and you can really try to figure out like what are your potential superpowers that you can have as a PM, and how can you lean into that and really make it something that can help you drive forward. And then also, like, a lot of organizations really love when people dive deep and help upskill the rest of the organization. So figure out, like, you know, once you figure out what that superpower is, like figuring out how can you enable the rest of the people around you to be able to learn from that. And so something that we've been doing at Deliveroo is actually creating like a product skills class where all the different PMs come together and can really share the different skills that they have and help people learn from that as well.
This class sounds like a great idea to actually create also something that is important with you are leading team, which is not only empowering, but also creating a team culture, a sense of belonging to the team. Actually, I'm wondering if you have like some example, as Sarah, you shared, for instance, maybe Ilia or Bala or Oli, about how you've been building a team culture on some initiatives that you took just to create this sense of belonging that makes what a team is actually called a team.
Yeah, I can. Go ahead.
Please.
Maybe Bala after.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay. Yeah, like maybe to double down also on this inspiring aspect. One of the skills, I guess, it's like certain trait, I guess, some of the product managers have, and you apparently, each of you probably have seen somebody who is like this, who is extremely passionate about the product they do. This is something that is very contagious, you know, and it doesn't matter what is the scope, actually. One of the PMs in my domain, she's running, I would say, like, to be honest, if you look from the side, sort of not very sexy, if I may. It's a very internal streamlining of our devices fleet tool. So we provide our restaurants with devices that they use to accept orders. But she's so engaged about things she does that I'm constantly receiving a 360 feedback about her energy, and that she inspires all of the stakeholders to be on board, to be engaged with the project, and how they are always asking how they can support, and she drives really well the product's execution. So this skill of being in love with whatever your scope is, this is something that makes others also love this, and makes others to want to be like you or like this person. And that's, I believe, something that can be developed, actually.
I like that. I think everything that drives recognition of the team, but because you are actually building the team, is a very strong lever to create a strong team culture. But you wanted to add your insight to the topic.
Yeah, +1 to everything Ilia said, and I just wanted to double down on irrespective of which level you're at within a product role, I think the ability to inspire people and lead is a part of the product role, a part of the product manager role. So making sure, 3 things come to mind. One, I think, which has been covered before, making sure there's a shared sense of purpose and drive in the team, in the cross-functional team that you're leading, or the team of product managers you're leading. Super important. Like I said, it helps get through the rough patches and the times when things don't go as planned. I think the second thing that comes to mind is when you either start off as a product lead or as a product manager leading, again, a cross-functional team or a team of product managers, I think it's so important to spend the time to actually foster a culture of trust. I think Ori mentioned this earlier, where the product role can get really lonely. And it's very important to have your tribe of people with whom you work closely together on the project or otherwise, but where you can have very open communication and direct and timely feedback shared frequently. And I think being very intentional, a part of this is being very intentional about the kinds of leaders that we grow and promote in organizations. But I think there's also a way for each one of us as product leaders, or in the audience if they're product managers aiming to be product leaders, to show up as people who actually make the time to foster and build rapport with their cross-functional leads and teammates before diving into building. I think that goes a long way again in times when things don't go as planned. The last thing I'd say is this is probably, it's very important to do this intentionally, which is to make sure that people you work with or support feel valued. And I can't state this enough. People just deliver so much more when they feel valued. And this can be simple things like thank you notes, kudos in weekly syncs, monthly syncs, whatever that might be. But I think taking the time to understand what's important to the other person, personally, professionally, whatever it may be, to the extent that they're willing to share, and then aligning your actions in a way that supports them to bring out the best in them is so key to being a leader in the space.
Indeed, and I know that you use several times the words intentionally, and I do think that intention when you're working as a product leader is a very important word, because everything that you do is for a purpose. The purpose to have a team that is in a good health and a good spirit is also because you have usually product goal on target that sometimes are ambitious that you have to meet. Actually, maybe another question that I have is how you make sure that the team you are working with is focused on the objective that matters for the product, meaning how you scale out of the team to drive ultimately the business objectives that you have as a product leader. Maybe something I can ask you, Ori, if you have some perspective on the topic.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think Bala touched on this a little bit before, talking about that consistency of vision and, consistency in terms of beating the drum of what the strategy and the goals are. I would say that, the two kind of contradictory paradoxes that exist in product management is that we love saying no, and that we also never want to say no. So we love saying no to, deviations from the vision and the strategy and everything else, but we don't want to say no to new opportunities, and that works against us as well. And so there's that constant tension that exists. So I would say the biggest thing that we can do to keep focus is really about transparency. And you achieve transparency for your organization by establishing really durable constructs in terms of the way you think about that strategy, the way you do business, the way you prioritize. So having a prioritization framework that's well understood and just echoed across kind of your entire team. So it's not just your product managers that can talk about how are we making our business choices, but also your cross-functional partners, which is just as equally important. It's the best days when you can have your engineering counterparts equally understand why you would or would not pursue an opportunity based on kind of the discussions you've had earlier and the strategy and the decision framework that you've established with them. So that kind of transparency and consistency in decision making is going to be crucial, especially as you kind of get inundated with more requests, and ideally as success occurs and you have that wonderful growth, you're going to be able to scale out because every part of your organization is now lining up to that kind of consistent goal and consistent vision.
Totally. I do think that transparency and explaining why you're taking decision may feel that people, they are less top-down for them, and also they are more included into the decision process. So totally resonate with me. Actually, this is one of the questions we had in the comments was how do you balance giving your team autonomy while ensuring alignment with the overall product vision on company goals? And actually, you kind of answered to it. But we have been speaking a lot about positive things, but the life of the product manager or a product team, you have a lot of up and down. And sometimes the product will pivot, the target will change, you will be behind the target, you will have to draft some plans to make sure that you pivot in the right way. So one of the questions that I have is, when it's time of adversity, when it's time of change, what kind of things will you do to maintain the team morale, to make sure that you cultivate a culture of resilience? Because this is something that is inherent to the life of a product manager as well. I don't know. I don't want to pinpoint someone, so please just jump in.
I can jump in. So yeah, I feel like we all probably have a ton of experiences with this, and many things are coming to mind. But I think three things really jump to the forefront. So I think for me, one is just being really honest about like what and transparent about what's happening and why it's happening. I think that just really helps everyone get on board and feel included in kind of the decisions that are happening. And I think two, really getting people on like excited and rallied behind the changes that are happening. So maybe there's a reorg and people are switching teams, but like if people understand why it's happening and how it ladders up to, you know, the company's mission or top goals, they can get more excited about the work that they're doing and why these changes are happening. And then three, and this one can sometimes be really hard, but I also think figuring out like how can the team continue to operate really sustainably and that people are taking care of themselves. It's easy for the company to have all these different targets they're trying to meet, but we also need to make sure that people are, you know, working the right number of hours and they're able to eat meals and sleep. And I think sometimes that can get forgotten about when there's chaos. So creating boundaries and making sure that people have those in place so that they can, you know, come to work really refreshed and ready to take on the new challenges.
That totally resonates with me. And I just wanted to quickly plus one to what Sarah said about giving people space, the time to process some of these things and also take care of themselves, especially in the recent past with several rounds of layoffs that I think many of us have experienced within our own companies. During times like that, yes, it's important to find the path forward and figure out how are we going to continue to deliver on our goals and continue to drive progress. But I think it's been so effective when product managers, product leaders, and leaders, organizational leaders in general, just allow people the time to process that the change is hard, that this is a hard time, and check in on people. And when you check in on people, make sure you validate that their anxieties, their concerns are very real and valid. And I think that itself goes a long way to then take the next step to getting them excited about our changes, getting them excited about what's to come next. And the second thing I want to talk about, and this is for the scenario of where there's such major product pivots or strategy pivots that the teams, 70% into the process of executing, and then we have to pivot, which happens unfortunately quite often due to policy changes, regulatory changes, things outside of our control sometimes, but sometimes things within our control. I think as a leader, the way to really inspire trust and confidence in the path forward is to take accountability and ownership for things that could have been done better. And we can, it doesn't have to be a lonely process. You can make it a collaborative retrospective or something like that. But really taking the time to say, hey, we understand that this is a major shift, and we understand we've spent so many cycles building towards this direction, but we're now saying build towards this direction. This is how we can actually do better the next time. And then moving forward, taking the time to do that and then moving forward, I think plays a huge role in inspiring trust.
Absolutely. I do think that actually empathy is a key skill when you're a leader, and just be here to hear, as you said, check in, because this is how also you can surface if there is any problem, any issue, and try to find a solution to solve them. In the 5 minutes, a bit more than 5 minutes that we have left, to make things maybe a little bit more concrete, I was wondering is maybe you could share like one recent example in your work life of one success story or one situation where you are proud of, like you think what you did was helping the product that you are supporting or helping the team that you are supporting. And so that I'm not only asking questions, I will start with sharing a short example at my life at Meta. Recently, I've been working on an advertising product where, as a product team, we had a goal to get more third-party data to fuel our optimization model. And for that, we were relying on sales team to support us to meet this goal. What happened is that at the beginning, it was not really getting a lot of traction. We were behind target, which created frustration among the product team, obviously. To try to solve for that, what I did is that I set up a direct connection, as Ilia mentioned, between the sales team and the product team so that they can just share each other feedback and understand better why it wasn't working. What happened is that we figured out that the goal, the way it was translated to sales team, was not meaningful for them. The product team came up with a different approach where they shared with sales team a goal to have advertisers using the solution rather than having more third-party data coming to the optimization model that was more relatable. In the end, being able to speak to these teams, they understood better what was the problem, and they were able to find a solution, and in the end, we had a better target. This is my example on if any of you want to jump in and share something from your own work life.
Yeah, I can share quickly one. I consider this as a success case, which is not actually about the product. It's more about what we do within the team. So here's the case we recently encountered. One of the teams within my domain is actually sort of platform team. And this type of teams, they're usually being reached out at multiple times about so many things, like everyone wants something. At the same time, within our tribe, the organization, specifically within DH, we are currently processing very large migration project. It also happens, and this requires very solid focus on doing things because this platform team is responsible for our user management, and there is a lot of things related to user management. So we had to say a lot of no to, coming back to what Ori was saying, like sometimes we don't want, but we have to all of those requests that are coming. And at some point, we reached like this moment we like really felt that there's a lot of disruption and dissatisfaction coming with our local regional teams because of like this no's constantly. So what we did within the team, and we confirmed this project with our senior leadership, that it kind of postpone a little bit some of the timelines we committed to related to our core project related to this migration, is that we set up, so we call it Hero of the Week. Is we have somebody who is basically sort of firefighter for a week, who is basically like this is rotation happens there, who is going through those requests that are usually quite minor, and they are not, to be honest, contributing like really explicitly to higher level business goals, but making your also partners, stakeholders, people you work with happy at some point. That's also part of your work. So we intentionally sacrificed a bit of capacity working on this higher level project in order to support other people. And actually, like we could with this initiative, we could solve so many issues actually within the team also, because there is no like dissatisfaction among the engineers saying like, why am I doing that? It's like rotation, and there is reasoning why. So actually there's a lot of really good feedbacks about this process we are having. So I consider this is a good practice we invented recently.
Yeah, this is a great example. Hero of the Week, I love it. We have 1 minute left, so maybe just to close, if Sarah, Bala, Ori, you have any closing thoughts that you want to share with the audience before we end up this panel?
Sure, I'm happy to, something quick to maybe respond to some of the themes I've seen in the comments here around kind of motivating folks and kind of getting your team to continue high performance or to, persevere in the face of adversity a little bit. One topic we haven't touched as much about is, when you're thinking about setting up your team for success, when you're thinking about growth and kind of understanding, what will empower the various product leaders within your organization, recognizing the differences and actually celebrating those differences in, style, expertise, approach of everyone in that organization. I think a common misstep that I've seen happen far too often with, PM leadership is trying to essentially, create clones of yourself and essentially making sure that everyone is practicing product management in the same way that you are, even though they're coming from a different place, different pedigree, different culture, everything else. And frankly, I just have never seen that work. And so when you talk about strategies to motivate and inspire, it's really, finding, I think as Sarah said this before, finding someone's superpower, understanding like, hey, what are they really wonderful at? Could be completely different than the way that you would approach a problem, but giving them enough autonomy, giving them enough space to go tackle an issue. And I'll say I've had many personal examples over the last year with, the team that, I've grown here, where, we're in a space where we have many more engineers than we do PMs, but the PMs are constantly surprising me with kind of the creative approaches they're coming at with problems. Some of them without an engineering background are still getting in the technical weeds and still finding ways to, build that credibility, build that trust. And it's as much a learning experience for me as it is a way for me to help kind of motivate them and double down on the strengths that they've already established in their career.
I think it's a great way to conclude this panel on just that the diversity is what makes a team also powerful. I will just finish by thanking you all for being there, for sharing your experience, your insight. This was very valuable, I think. I want also to thank you, the audience, for attending. I hope it was helpful for you as well as you're navigating the product management journey. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.